Hey, what's up, everybody? We are live. Thursday MLB DFS picks, lineup advice, strategy, a live Q&A here for FanDuel, DraftKings, and Yahoo. Thursday, April 21st. I'm Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy. Welcome. This is a live Q&A. Be here until about 12:20 Eastern, probably, maybe a little bit longer if we have enough questions. Which you'll see on the right of your screen there, the live YouTube chat feature. Go ahead and throw in your questions about today's early slate. I guess it's called the main slate, the early main slate on FanDuel and DraftKings. I'll answer them here live. We'll chat through the top pitching options, top stacks, some lineup construction tips to help get you to the top of those contest leaderboards today. I see T Nasty in the chat. What's good? T Nasty, what's up, man? And if you're watching, go ahead and say hi in the chat. Stop by, and we'll gladly help you out. So let's just jump right into it. And as more people get in here, we can always catch them back up if need be. And interesting slate today because on DraftKings, we have the 3:30 and 4 o'clock games, Arizona, Washington, Baltimore, and Oakland. If we go back over to FanDuel, we see it's just a 6-game slate over there. So a little bit different strategy. But all in all, things end up being somewhat the same. The biggest difference is because the Arizona-Washington game is not on this slate on FanDuel, on DraftKings, they're actually projected to be two of the most popular stacks on the board. So that changes how ownership looks, and we'll look at that here in the stack dashboard here a little bit. Nick's in the chat, Matthew's in the chat. What's up, guys? Appreciate you all tuning in. So let's just bring that up really quickly because I think that's the biggest thing to talk about. So the Occupy Fantasy stack dashboard, occupyfantasy.com, ranks every stack, FanDuel, and DraftKings using our proprietary metric, OF Index, back-tested data to predict stealing performances. Also ranks stacks based on isolated power projections, weighted on base average projections, team total, line movement, and their FanDuel and DraftKings ownership. So if we sort by DraftKings, we see that Arizona, number one highest owned projected stack on DraftKings, 105% cumulative ownership. Washington checks in number two, 84%. And I kind of see why. The betting markets like this game. That team total for both teams have increased, which means the game total has increased. Let's actually bring up the live odds screen here. New feature we have on OccupyFantasy.com is a free tool where you can, it automatically picks up which state you're in. If you're in a legal sports betting state, if not, it'll give you all of the books. But you can see the opening line, closing line for different sports. And let's go to over-unders here. Let's scroll down. And yeah, we see that, let's see here. Opener 10. Where are we here? Arizona, Washington. I think this opener is wrong, flat out. Consensus is 9. I think it opened at 8.5 because our book, partner book, Sugar House, has this. Let's see. Total is 9 yet. Our partner sports book at Sugar House opened at 8.5. It's up to 9 now. So very interesting. I think that consensus rhyme, or that opener line was a rogue opening line on the tool. But anyways, regardless, these two teams are the most popular on DraftKings. But if we look on FanDuel, obviously they're not on the board. The Yankees jumped to number one by a pretty wide margin, 121% cumulative ownership. And they have the number one team total, so that makes sense. That makes a ton of sense. So we'll have to have different strategies for FanDuel and DraftKings. I see Danny's in the chat. What's up, man? Again, if you guys have questions, let me know. So different stacks, different sites. And we've gotten this question a few times over the past couple of weeks in our Discord server, which if you're not a member of, make sure you're already joined. Click the join button below this video, get access. We've talked about this on live streams as well, where we see a top team. Let's go back to, let's sort by OF Index. Minnesota, San Francisco, number one and number two. Arizona and Washington ranked 3 and 4, which is pretty respectable. They have the team total movement. But as we've talked about in our research, the most popular stacks don't get there often enough if you fully stack them to make them worthwhile at their ownership. So when you see Arizona above 100%, you see New York on FanDuel over 100%, you pretty much always want to exclude those stacks from primary stacking. So on FanDuel, 4-man stacks, on DraftKings, 5-man stacks. By eliminating those popular stacks, you're automatically looking at great game theory and leverage. And our model, fortunately today, even likes other teams ranked ahead of those teams, which is the best high-risk type of slate. When you see that those high-owned teams are third, fourth, or even lower in the model, and you see teams like Minnesota and San Francisco near the top, that gives you a ton of confidence to use those teams in high-risk contests. When it really gets tricky is when the model spits out these high-owned teams as the number one stack. Then it's even scarier to fade those teams in high-risk contests. But I guarantee you, if you're playing this over the long haul, you're playing for the entire season, you're playing for multiple seasons, playing those high-owned stacks, fading them, will certainly give you a higher ROI in tournaments in the long run. Now, let's talk about pitching really quickly. And I'm going to let's go back to DraftKings. And we see Dylan Cease is the number one most expensive pitcher on DraftKings. Carlos Carrasco, number 2. If you read the Daily Plug today, which actually just dropped right before I went live, our writers Chris and Troy do a great job there. We actually like Dylan Cease under, what is it? What is the prop here? Let's go back to the prop radar. Another tool, we just added another free tool, OccupyFantasy.com for sports betting in legal states. Dylan Cease, type in the player's name, you get to see all of his props at different sports books. Let's go to strikeouts. Yeah, his line is 6.5. We got him projected for nearly 5. And the way you can tell that, let's go back to pitching. I mean, this sets up for a really, really nice high-risk slate because Dylan Cease, we have projected 44% on DraftKings, one of the highest owned pitchers, one of the most expensive. Betting markets like his strikeout props, but we got him for less than a K per innings pitch. So even if he pitches for 6 innings, he's likely hitting that under 6.5 K mark, which means we don't think he's worth that price, at least not as much as the field does. Let's see. Harry says, I've been following you guys for a while. Haven't won a dime on your recommendations. Seem to do better on my own. Any reasonable recommendations? That's a great question. And, we do get this question somewhat frequently. And if you do content, you're going to get this question pretty often, right? Because, well, I guess, Harry, first question, do you just watch the streams or do you subscribe to the content? That's a big question. Answer that question in the chat, and I'll follow up with a more precise answer for you. So let me know about that. So Cease ranks, 6th in the model? What's interesting, we have Gossman ranked number 1, but he's a pretty high-risk play as well, right? Pretty much a coin flip game. The markets are moving against him. 4.5 run team total for the Red Sox, but he has the highest K per innings pitch projection on the slate. So when you see something like this, betting markets against him, high opposing team total, coin flip favorite, not someone you want to run in your one lineup probably, but if you're playing tournaments, a guy that you think you can get in there. So, all right, Harry says he is subscribed. That's good to know. We appreciate your subscription, Harry, and we appreciate you being a part of the community. What types of contests are you playing? That's the next question you need to ask yourself, right? If you're playing the biggest GPPs, you're not going to win very often. So let us know what type of contest you're playing, and then I can follow up. We'll have a little conversation here. So when you see a slate like today, just to kind of to tie it all together, we see our most popular stacks rank a little bit lower. Our favorite stacks rank a little bit higher with low ownership. We have the most popular pitcher rank in the middle of the pack. Some low-owned pitchers rank near the top. This is a perfect slate for leagues, GPPs, satellites, the high-risk type contests, because we have if the field is wrong, and they often are in baseball just because of the variance in the sport, then we have a great chance to take down some tournaments today. So I'm really excited about that. So if you have questions about the slate, let me know. We're here for about 12 more minutes till 12:20 Eastern. Let's go back to DraftKings. So if we're let's just look at our top stack, Minnesota. If you remember yesterday, they were the most popular stack on the slate by a wide margin, and they scored 0 runs, right? So it goes to show that while it's scary to fade a top stack, they do fail, and they fail often. A lot of times your brain will remember the times you faded the top stack or most popular stack, and they go off, and those are the times you remember. But there are plenty of times like yesterday where the top owned stack scores 0 runs. So Minnesota today, and let's go back to the hitter dashboard. Let's do a little refresh to make sure we get the latest lineups in here. I think we have the latest lineups we will. The 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. games we probably won't get for another hour or so, but all the rest of the games we got the lineups in. So if we go to Minnesota, Buxton, Sano, Garlick, Correa, Ursula. This is pretty nice, right? Because the top 5 guys ranked for Minnesota, they fit well from a batting or a correlation. Sometimes we'll see this where they don't. But personally, I like to have a max gap of 1 in between hitters in my stack. So if I have a 1 hitter, I either want a 2 hitter or 3 hitter. But if I don't have the 2 or 3 hitter, then you don't get as much correlation if you're stacking 4 or hitters or later. So Buxton, number 1. We got 1, 2, 4, 6, 7. Perfect correlation. So let's just build a lineup really quickly and see what this looks like. So Minnesota, right? We got 1, 2, 4, 6, 7. So that leaves us catcher, second base, outfield. And we get this question a lot too. I build my primary stack. Where do I go next? Because sometimes if you start to build in your secondary stacks next, you end up with really shitty pitching. And obviously you want to prioritize your bats over pitchers in tournaments, but not to a point where you're just completely punting pitching. Let's see. T Nasty says, do you care about leaving salary? I personally don't. There are some slates where it doesn't matter whatsoever. Some slates it's really tough, but because of the correlation, you're trying to stack as much as possible. That's the salary matters less in those types of sports because you're playing for the correlated upside. Harry said he's playing single in 3 max contests. I assume those are the bigger entries though, right? Like 1,000+ entries in that contest, right, Harry? Again, you play those types of contests. Sure, over the long haul, you're going to have a profitable ROI if you follow proper stacking techniques. But in the short term, you're going to have a lot of variance if you're trying to beat 1,000 people, 500+ people, multiple thousands of people. So first step, just make sure you're playing the smallest contests, right? Especially single entry 3 max. A lot of people have that misconception that, oh, I have 1 entry, everyone else has 1 entry, I'm on a level playing field. But if there's 1,000 entries in the contest, you still have to beat 999 other entries to get first place. So the amount of time it's going to take to realize that ROI is a lot longer than if you played a 200-person contest, a 100-person contest. So again, maybe you're doing that, but certainly recommend starting with those types of contests and playing those. You can mix in the larger ones as well, but you're going to have more losing days than not playing the larger contests, which may seem why you're losing more frequently than you should be when you're subscribed to a site. And I understand, right? You pay money for a site and you want to win instantly. You want to get your money back. You're paying money for advice. You really want to get you want your money to be worth it, right? So I understand. Just make sure you're playing the right contest. And again, that's the thing I focus on the most, playing the right contest. I understand that there's going to be ups and downs, picking players, picking stacks, picking teams, picking pitchers. But if I know that I'm picking the right contest and playing optimal stacks, optimal lineup constructions, I'm going to be ahead of the curve over the long haul. So, all right, so we got Minnesota in here. What does it look like? And so what I did, I'm not going to bring it up on screen here because I don't have it set up properly for the stream, but building in the lineup builder, OccupyFantasy.com lineup builder, I can see which teams pair well with others. And if I look at Minnesota, and I'm just looking on my end here, the teams that pair well with them the most, Boston, Chicago, Cleveland, Kansas City, and San Francisco. And the reasons I think, and again, you can figure this out on your own hand building, but the lineup builder does a lot more automatically, makes it easier to save some time. It's probably because those teams have higher ranking players at the catcher and second base position, which are a little bit harder to fill. So let me see here. I'm just going to look on my end again. Yeah, so Cleveland fits really well here. Cleveland and the Giants. Yeah, okay, so let's try this out. Let me go back to the stream here. Okay, answer this question really. Danny says, for low-risk contests, when choosing batters, it's the best to simply start with the top stack. So for me, again, I don't play too many low-risk contests. And again, those are 50-50s, double-ups, head-to-heads, right, where you just have to beat half the field. Really what you're trying to do there, not really maximize correlation, trying to maximize opportunity. And what does that mean? You want to play hitters near the top of the batting order. And if we bring up the model here, let's take Minnesota out of the filter. We have that low-risk filter here at the top of the model. Click yes. This will automatically filter out players who have a projected weighted on base average of 340 or higher. That's the threshold we look for. And players who are hitting in the top half of their team's order. Guaranteed to get more at-bats playing in the top half of the order. Guaranteed, not guaranteed, but more likely to get on base. I would try to jam in as many of these guys as possible. Sometimes you'll end up with stacks. More often than not, you'll end up with mini stacks. But really maximize plate appearances and then getting the top pitchers that have the highest money lines. That's your best bet for low-risk contests. So, okay. 12:15, a few more minutes here. But let's go back to this Minnesota lineup, right? Oops, that's my that's my golf lineup that I'm sweating today. So let's see. Catcher, second base, outfield. If you're doing this by hand and you're trying to get you're not using the lineup builder, which teams fit best here? What I'll do here, I need a catcher, a second baseman, outfield. What I'll do, I'll bring the model back up. Let's take the low risk filter off. In DK, I'll just filter out those positions, catcher, second base, outfield, and see if any teams stand out. Right? So naturally, Arizona stands out immediately. Right? They're going to be popular, but we don't mind secondary stacking a popular stack. We get Ketel Marte, Carson Kelly, 2-3 hitters, perfect batting order correlation, top 3 in the model. It's fantastic. So let's go back. Let's make sure I get the right tab here. And let's go to Arizona. And catcher, Carson Kelly. Again, we're going to have to confirm the lineup when it does come out here in the next hour or so. And now we got 8,000 left per player. I'll leave the one off later. Maybe we go with a third Arizona player. We'll see here. But let's see what the pitching options give us. 8,000 per player. Let's go back to pitching. Gossman, Ryan, Carrasco. I mean, we got plenty of options here. And let's see here. So let's just go with the top two. Let's just say we're going with the top two. We're trusting the model fully on this one. Kevin Gausman, Joe Ryan. And we get a little bit of correlation with Joe Ryan, Minnesota. If Minnesota goes off, he likely gets the win, so we'll take that as well. So Joe Ryan, Kevin Gausman, 6K left per player, right? So let's go back to the batters tab. And I want to see what Arizona looks like. Like, do we want to get the full correlation here with Arizona? Because the next player that we would probably fill in just from a batting order standpoint is Cooper Hummel, leading off. He's cheap, though, 3,100. Let's see here. Cooper Hummel, 3,100. Let's put him in there. Now we got the full 5-3 stat correlation. That's pretty nice. But we have 2,900 left over. I know I said to T Nasty earlier, salary doesn't matter too much. But, I mean, 2,900 is a lot. That's pretty obnoxious. Let's see here. Can we upgrade pitching at all? Because, I mean, not really. We could upgrade if we want to get safer and go with a higher money line pitcher over Gausman. We could go with Jordan Montgomery, Dylan Cease, but Montgomery's cheaper. Cease is $1,200 more expensive, so maybe not. Hummel, let's go back to the batters. Hummel, 5.5 OF index. And this is where it becomes a balancing act. How big is your contest? How much does correlation matter versus OF index? If the two guys are close, we generally we side with correlation, right? If the next best hitter in the model is like 5.7, 5.8, and Hummel's 5.5, that's a 0.3 difference. That's not enough for us to play the higher guy. Let's just go with the correlation in Cooper Hummel. But we got a way higher guy that's ranked, and let's say he has an OF index of 9. We'll forego that correlation. We still got the 5-2 stack, 5-2-1, and we'll trust the model there. So let's look at outfielders. And Soto may make some sense here. 6.8 OF index, 1.3 points higher than Hummel, so significantly higher, right? And he can fill up the salary a little bit. Let's see here. Let's go back to here. And maybe we go Juan Soto. Everyone's going to steal this lineup now. But we got a nice correlation. 5-man Minnesota. Got the pitcher with him. Our top pitcher in Kevin Gausman. 2-man Arizona stack, assuming the lineup holds. We'll get the confirmation soon. And then we get one of our top hitters in Juan Soto. And also a popular hitter too. So, I don't know. This is a pretty good way to build a lineup. I hope this helps you think about ways to build lineups. And again, I think on Tuesday, Jackson will join the stream. We'll use the lineup builder, and that'll probably be an hour show to show you how to use a lineup builder to do all this automatically. So let's see here. What else we got in the chat? Chris says throws lineup out. Yeah, probably so. As soon as let me see here. Have we gotten those? Have we gotten those official lineups yet? I'm sure it'll ruin everything when we do. Nick says, Harry, trust the model and the plug. It won't work out some days, but I have very been profitable in the long run. Yeah, I agree. And again, if you're going to, I mean, we have so many members that do this. We have, and again, just think of the average human mind. I understand. People join the site. They don't win in 3 days. They quit. They try another site and they bounce around. They realize that they're not going to win at every single site or any site with that mentality. You have to be used to losing in DFS. I lose so many days. The top players lose so many days. Listen to the Emotional Bankroll podcast. They talk about how losing. I mean, you see Osimo at the top of contest. You think he could probably never lose. He talked about how he had an 11th month losing streak. So to understand that everyone loses, and as long as you have a long-term pitcher in mind, you're going to come out ahead. Let's see. T Nasty says, I have $1,200 left over. Would you upgrade to Cease from Gausman on FanDuel 100-man contest? Liam in the chat says exactly the lineup I landed on. So Liam, we're either going to be first or last together, buddy. So I'm with you there. Hopefully no one else steals that lineup. Let's see. So let's go to FanDuel really quickly. And Cease at 10.3, Gausman 9.9. So you can upgrade here, right? $1,200 left over. That's fine. Upgrade $400. That leaves you $800 left over. Both are fine. To me, on FanDuel, 100 players don't have to beat that many people. Let's go back to FanDuel. Let's go back to the pitcher model. The difference for me here is, on FanDuel, you have to nail pitching. And if I was playing a bunch of lineups, playing the biggest GPPs, I would definitely mix in Kevin Gausman, for sure. But to me, getting that win and quality start is so huge. So Montgomery or Cease, and Cease has a full run lower team total. Betting markets, they take a lot of money. They know what they're doing. 3.5 projected runs for Cleveland, 4.5 for Boston. So that adds to the quality start likelihood for Cease. Higher likelihood of winning, -141 money line, -108 for Gausman. I know it's dropping down in the model, but it's a little bit safer, I think, for that type of contest. So I think I would probably upgrade to Cease. And Nigel says, any tips for FanDuel? So yeah, just kind of what I was just talking about just there. It is 12:20. We'll be here for a couple more minutes if you guys have any final questions. But you just have to nail that pitching spot. And I think you have to focus more on it there. And again, our pitching model is built for high-risk contests. It's built a little more with DraftKings in mind, looking at hits allowed, walks allowed, strikeouts, not necessarily the win bonus and the quality start like you see on FanDuel. So I think when in doubt, even if you have to drop a little lower in the model, especially when you see betting market movement against the top guy like Gossman, money lines moving against them, team totals moving against them, and it's super high risk on a one-pitcher site. It's tough to play someone like that. I would much rather drop a little bit, even if it's someone like Ryan, even if someone like Carrasco, Montgomery, Cease, get a little more safety with that money line and team total. I think that's the best approach on FanDuel. And the fact that you can do that, because stacking is so easy on FanDuel, salary is so much easier to work with, that you can do that, pay a little bit more, and still be fine stacking. So many cheap guys on FanDuel, so many stacks. And on a slate like today, 4-4 stacking is fine, maybe 4-3-1, but you can get it done. FanDuel, fortunately, makes it easy for us. And yeah, as Chris writes in the chat, he wrote in the Daily Plug today too. Jordan Montgomery, I mean, I don't know why his price is what it is. 6,900 on DraftKings, 7,800 FanDuel. Highest money line on the slate. One of the highest K per innings pitch projections. Does a great job facing Detroit. His salary makes no sense. Not that we necessarily need the salary today, but he's super cheap if you need a cheap pitcher that projects really well. Let's see. Okay. So Liam says, how do you handle Minnesota and San Francisco stacks on FanDuel? Highest OF hitters are split. 2 top of the order, 2 further down. Do you drop to a lower OF index hitter to bridge the gap? Do you ever play a split stack? So good question. Let's see what he's talking about in the model here. So let's bring up Minnesota. So yeah, we got Buxton and Correa 1-2, but then Sano, Garlic 6-7. Now this makes it tough on FanDuel where you can maximum stack 4. So for me, I would generally drop down in OF index to get the full correlation. Split stacks, maybe I get it. I understand some, but you're not fully getting advantage of that correlation. The reason you 4-man stack is to get maximum correlation. And if guys hit closer together in the batting order, that's how you maximize that correlation. So to me, I would probably drop down from either Garlic to Ursula, get a 1-2-4-6, something like that. Let's see what San Francisco looks like. And again, on DraftKings, you can mitigate that because you can add in a 5th hitter that kind of hits in between all of them and it ties it all together. FanDuel, you don't have that luxury. I mean, San Francisco a little bit better, right? 1-2-3-5, that's fine. But Minnesota's the big one. So yeah, I think necessarily you pretty much have to drop down in order as opposed to playing a split stack because that now you're just essentially playing a 4-2-2 stack instead of a 4-4, which does work sometimes, but really want to maximize correlation. Good question though, Liam. And Nigel says, so FanDuel for today, Montgomery is the play for upside and price. Yeah, I mean, you got to like that. Highest money line, which is what we want to look for on FanDuel. Super cheap if you want to play some expensive stacks. Yeah, I mean, Montgomery's a great play, 7,800. All right, guys, that'll do it. We appreciate you listening. Lots of great questions in the chat. If you have any further questions, join the Discord server. We're chatting up in there for every single sport. Click the join button below this video, occupyfantasy.com/Discord. Talk with other members of the community, chat with staff, ask questions. Great resource. Go check it out. OccupyFantasy.com, all the tools you've seen here on screen. The model and the daily plug are behind the paywall, so you need a subscription to join, but it's super cheap, one of the best prices in the industry. And the sports betting tools that we showed earlier, the prop radar, let's bring that back up. These are fully free. Take advantage of these if you're in a legal sports betting state. What you can do, if you like a bet, you click it. It'll take you to that site, and all the sites are linked. We're partnered with these sites. If you sign up, get a deposit bonus, free bet, boost your bankroll even further. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, get notified when we go live, upload any new videos, UFC coming this weekend, USFL, more MLB, tons of stuff. Make sure you subscribe, get notified, don't miss a video. Give us a thumbs up if you like the content. Again, any further questions, join Discord. That's the best way. So I'm Brian for Occupy Fantasy. Appreciate you listening, and good luck on today's early main slate on FanDuel and DraftKings.